Hey guys, I'm just going to be going over my Void Drift run. This video should just be 1 out of 3, so like the first area. I'm going to try to keep it as easy to follow as possible so you guys can follow along, take some advice and some input, and just use what I'm using. I'm going to try to really avoid using characters like Boreas and stuff like that. So I'm gonna do my best to just make it as accessible as possible, and I'm gonna try my best to make the gear as accessible as possible. But I will have to preface this by saying this is the hardest week by far in terms of modifiers. So there is a stage or two where I just cracked and I couldn't do it otherwise. But when I do use OP heroes, I do end up using some very bad gear on purpose. But whatever. Anyways, as you can see on the screen, you really need a second marksman. You need Idril, and you need another piercer, another piercing marksman. If you do not have a second one for this phase of Void Rift, you will not be able to do it. So some options are Hatsit, Setram, Silas. Silas does not need to be bonded, and Sargak, I think, are the best ones. You could use Brienne on anything but Nightmare, but when you're in Nightmare, you need a second one. I will be using Silas. You can replace him with the other heroes. You can use Setram, is great as well. Setram might actually be better than Silas for this phase because of his range. And Hatsit works fine, and Sargak works fine. But with these modifiers, with the extra HP, those are really the only options. It's already hard enough to do it with Idril. So, yeah. But anyways, let's get into it. I'm just kind of going to explain the fights how I can and stuff like that. But anyways, first fight, let's get into it. As you can see, this is the stage. We have increased attack. Increased attack is not a difficult modifier. It's actually a preferable modifier because it makes it a lot better than when it has increased HP. That one, or reduced damage, those two are the hardest ones. So, yeah. Anyways, this is the team that I'm pretty sure I use. Um, Wrath I don't need, so I'm going to swap them out. I do use Boreas for this fight, but it's kind of a nothing stage. The first fight is a nothing kind of level. You just want to use any like mage you have and space things out. I just kind of randomly dived into this one because I figure if I'm making a video on Void Rift, I should be doing every fight if I can. But this fight doesn't really matter too much if we're being completely honest. You could use Vierna, you could use Comet or Boreas. You'll see a bit later that you kind of need Comet or Boreas for a stage if they have the modifiers on. But anyways, you could use all sorts of things. You could use Greed if you would like. I don't know why, but Maul did literally nothing for me this stage. Also, Arrogance is very good for this Void Rift. Just a bunch of random information. Sorry, I'm just kind of tossing information out there. Anyways, what I like to do here is I like to just kind of toss out my defender, followed by either a DPS or Vortex. If you're using Silas, I would put Silas down first, like this, so that he can end up ultimating the mage. But if you're using Vortex, you should be good for a little while. But anyways, pop Silas ult, get the workout. You could use Idril instead, but there I used her to bait out Silas. Baited out so Silas could get the kill. Once again, Setram works fine. Most people do have Setram or Silas, whether he's bonded or not, and I think it's fine to use him. Obviously, if you don't have any of these guys, any legendary piercers, you should not be doing Nightmare Void Rift, because if you don't have them, you're gonna struggle. There are ways to do it without, but it's so complicated. I don't feel like making a guide without them. I'm sure you can find some other guides for it. Boreas gonna die here unless I put Baron. I do like bringing Baron on the stage purely to do that, just so that he ends up taking the mages. Tanks are very good in this Void Rift so that you can kind of bait these things out. That's why I really like having them. As you can see, Baron's putting in work, taking all the damage so that Idril can take him down. and we should be good. Baron would die, so I think it probably is a good idea not to leave him there. I don't know why I put Silas there. That's probably the worst place to put him. But I was just kind of panicking in the moment, kind of stressed out. I did fail every single stage a couple times trying to put really bad gear on. So just trust me when I say that my gear is not very good for a lot of these, especially some of the later stages. But whatever. Also, I don't really use Boreas more than 1 or 2 stages, so don't worry. I just figured it was fine because I was pretty lazy, and this stage is just so easy that you don't really need to care too much. As you can see, Olog and a healer is good enough to tank a mage, and you just use your piercers to finish them off. Pretty simple stuff. I just used Olog's ult there to make it so that Idril does a bit more damage, just to make it a bit easier, but whatever. Anyways, now we move on to the next stage, and the next stage, I actually, some of my footage got corrupted of the clear, but I still do have footage of my attempts, so I'm going to be going over one of my better attempts, and I'm just going to say what I ended up using instead, just to hopefully help you guys out. Obviously, what I used to do is, well, actually, first off, this kind of stage baits you into thinking that you need to put a bunch of ground units down, but then when you try it, it doesn't work because there's so many minions and there's not enough cost and it's just a mess. But the way to do this stage is you actually just kill them. You don't really use ground units for the main waves, you use a bunch of mages and just damage to clear them. And there are 2 ways to clear the first sort of phase, where there's 3 minion looking guys that come through. One of them is you use Boreas and other mages, which I will not be doing in this. Instead, I will be using Idril and Dolores. You can use Idril and Dolores for pretty much every stage in this Void Rift. She is amazing for this rotation. I don't actually end up using Silas in my clear very much. He ends up doing literally nothing, and I don't use him at all. When I actually cleared, what I did was I did Greed and Vierna, actually, for damage to the enemies. And then I was swapping so much gear around that I accidentally ungeared Silas, so he had no gear. And I ended up trying to use him to help with the wave. He did nothing. So, Greed A5 is amazing for the stage, I realized. He's the GOAT. I was using Laurel for a little bit before I realized that it was not working very well. So what I did was, as you'll see in a second, I put Idril and Dolores where they are placed normally. As you can see, I swapped better gear on her. She really needs a high level Idril's Gaze, and she needs A5. But anyways, I kept the 2 tanks. You do need 2 tanks to deal with the mages, and then Idril's ult can also deal with the mages, as you'll see later. Or you could bring a piercer, like Silas, for example. Setrum is probably better because of his range. You could bring those sorts of things, and you should be good to go with dealing for the mages. I did actually try Brienne for some reason. It didn't go very well. But anyways, and then use Idril and Dolores for the first wave, as you will see very shortly. And then you put Greed in between Dolores and Idril, and then you can put another mage at the back just to help. The reason why you can't use something like Laurel or Maul or whatever, which I did try, is because later on you will get some extremely tanky mobs, and there's just no way to kill them. So unfortunately, that's how it goes. Anyways, what you do here, as you can see, is you use Idril ult. You wait a little bit so that when you trigger Dolores ult, she will do her first shot stronger, and you just keep going. I wouldn't really recommend using Laurel here, just once again my footage got corrupted. I would just put Greed in the middle of them instead of putting Laurel, And Greed is so good because of his slows that it gives you some extra time to bring back Idril. And then I would put something like Fiona, for example, or Comet, Boreas, blah blah blah. Literally anything you have, you could put it at the back. You could probably use Iona. Iona's probably fine, but whatever. And then you just kind of cycle your Idril, your Dolores, and your Greed. Well, your Greed will auto attack, but it's not a big deal. And then you can use whatever else. You could also move Vortex one square to the left from what I'm using right now. And you can put whatever you want where Vortex is, and you can face them down, and it'll just have a bit of extra damage. So hypothetically, you could have a Mage at the end. You could have Greed in the middle of Idril and Dolores. And you could also have something like Iona at the top. I think I said that. I don't know. I'm very tired. Anyways, as you can see, I do put Brienne there, but she doesn't do much, so I wouldn't really recommend doing that. Once again, Idril's ult does great. And as you can see, Greed is putting in work, but I would recommend Greed in the middle. I do end up failing this run, but I hope what I'm saying actually makes sense, and you can clean up the rest. Really, really sorry about that, but there's literally nothing I can do about it. So for this stage, it's very, very difficult if you don't have a legendary marksman or piercing damage. So I will be using Silas, although once again, like I've been repeating quite a bit, Setrum works fine. You could use something like a really, really strong single target mage if you have one, or any piercing damage. Doesn't matter. You could maybe use Idril. I tried really hard to make this team work, but I was barely not able to. So instead of using Volca, I will be using Silas, and I'll just be swapping some meh gear back onto him. By meh, I mean pretty solid gear onto him. I don't remember where my Silas set was. Did I? Oh, I put it on Brienne. Okay, well, let's put the Silas gear back on, and we're gonna go. So basically, what you want to do, basically what you want to do for the stage, is I like to put Olag there first. He's gonna be our main tank, just to kind of stall that out. And then what we're gonna do is we're gonna have Baron for here when this Adjudicator comes out, and we're gonna be popping Silas ult for this guy when he comes out. And Greed will go on this square to deal with some damage. I think I will put Silas down first, and then maybe Vortex, just because I need his ult up as soon as possible for this guy. But once again, you can just use something else. Vortex died, but we have another healer, so it's not a big deal. And we're just going to keep going. My placement's a bit off. You can probably redo the placement, and it would be a bit better, but it's not a big deal. I did put Idril here facing left, and if you do that, you will be able to kill this first mage, but the rest of it is an issue, and Greed died, so, so what you do is you put Olag down first, and then I think I will be putting down, Silas, just for some extra damage, and so he can build up his ultimate, for a little bit later, and then we will be putting down Vortex right here just to help heal everyone. We're going to pop Silas ult as soon as possible. Once again, Setrum works fine. The timing might be slightly different, but it's not a big deal. And then after, I like doing Greed over here just so we can deal with the minions when they stop by. Also, I was able to kill this mage really easily with Idril facing left, and with Dolores if you would like, but it's not a big deal. But I wasn't really able to deal with this mage up here, because it was just kind of a struggle. So instead, I just figured that I would crank Silas out. I don't want to use Silas for these stages. I know people don't like it when I do, but I can't do much about it. Anyways, at the top, what you want to do is you want to stall with another tank. I like using Baron. Baron is great, and you can kind of stall at this mage. What you're going to do is you're going to wait to ult until this mage comes out, or is close to coming out. So I probably could have Silas ulted earlier, but it's not a big deal. Baron just does a great job of stalling out, and all that fun stuff. I could probably put Idril here. I'm not really sure about the placement. And I do have a spare unit right there with Dolores, so you could use whatever else you want. But it's not really needed. We're just kind of dealing with these guys pretty easily. Just building up Silas ults whenever we can, or Cetrum ults, whatever. Doesn't matter. As you can see, you can't really put much up here. I did actually put Boreas down there when I beat this on my own, but it wasn't really the best idea ever, so whatever. I'm going to Silas ult a bit early this time to help deal with the minions because I am struggling a little bit. As you can see, a lot of people are dying, but we just have the archers to go, and then we win. So we should be able to kill them with just pretty much Idril, and we should be good. The reason why I really like Oleg for this stage is because with his anti-healing, with the anti-healing that goes on him, he doesn't really notice because he has a shield and the shield is not affected, so it's pretty nice. Anyways, that's that stage done. I know Silas has a ton of damage, but literally any piercer you use you could put there and it'll be fine. But Silas, Cetrum, Sargak, and Hatsa are all very nice. You just need something to kill the mages quickly. I did do that stage with Praetus last time I did it, and it was very easy. Just this max HP modifier is so frustrating. It's so hard to deal with. But anyways, this is probably the hardest stage in this entire Void Rift. This is the reason why a lot of people are struggling and can't really beat it. But I actually have a really easy way to do this. Like, pretty easy. I will have to use some legendary options though. The reason why I said at the beginning, like that, I emphasized that you need 2 single target marksmen, is because of this stage. You cannot beat this without single target marksmen. The first one being Idril. I would recommend Idril. Idril's great. And then I would recommend like the others that I listed. I will be using Silas, but Cetrum works fine. I will be putting Silas about this square right here, or maybe this square, but if you're using Cetrum, you can put him on this square right here, or this one. It doesn't matter, but just like, you know what I mean. Sorry, I'm very tired, but you get the idea. And then what you want to do is you want to have 3 tanks. If you don't have arrogance, you want to have 3 tanks. Arrogance is great for going on this tile right here and killing this adjudicator. But if you don't have anything like that for the adjudicator, you either need a 3rd single target marksman, which most people don't have, to face up and deal with that one, which I won't be doing. Or you got to put a tank there and then heal the tank. So, speaking of healing, we will have Vortex, and we will have Baron. Baron will be really good for later on, for something I'll show. And then I will be using Brokir, but you do not need Brokir. Oh, I should also have Olog on the team, sorry. You do not need Brokir. You can use any defender, you can use Regulus, you could use like Livian or something. Livian's fine. You could use Isolde. Isolde is probably great, actually, because of her Lord skill being very good. And then for our last remaining slots, I highly recommend AoE mages. You want to have 2, ideally. Or you want a really strong single target like mage. You want to have a mage because of high resist. Boreas is the best. Vierna is very good. So I'm going to be using Greed and Vierna for this, just because, as you can see, my Iona is not really leveled too much, and I don't feel like gearing her. But we have Vierna with decent stats, Unfortunate Skull, and then we have Greed, who has my absolutely terrible SA set, and Tear of Twilight, and this should be enough. So, this is my run where I was able to beat it. I'll show the gear at the end, I'm pretty sure, or at least the relevant gear. First off, you gotta kind of start with your AoE mages. I'm using Vienna because I think she's the most achievable mage, considering I know most people might not have Comet or Boreas, but I did end up having to use Boreas, though he is in the worst gear set I could manage. Anyways, as you saw there, you want to put your mage down, and then you want to put your tank down. You don't have to kill the anti-healers right there, but it is recommended if you can. And right here, after placing your units, you want to place down your secondary mage. You could also use something like Hex. You can use all sorts of other options. Just this week's modifier with reduced damage taken or like more HP or whatever on the enemies, it makes it so I could not beat it with something like Greed. You might be able to on other weeks, but for Nightmare, you have to have legendary options. It's hard to manage it. Anyways, as you can see, you want to put Olag on the left so that they will perpetually uh, keep the mages there. I had to ultimate with Boreas here so that he had his ultimate up again for when the minions come later and end up you'll end up losing if you don't have your mage ults. You also want to put your piercer at the top, like I did with Silas, and you want to put Idril where I put her. And what you're gonna do is, as soon as that minion at the bottom that you can see there, as soon as they walk up, you want to put your tank at the bottom. It needs to be an unyielding tank or a tank that is tanky enough. And you really, really need to be able to kill these rippers so that your Idril can actually target the mage. That's very important. Also at the top, I could have kept Vienna alive if I ulted with Silas early enough, but I didn't. But it's fine. Anyways, as you can see, Idril will be hitting the mage. If she's struggling to kill the mage, because you do need a decent gear set on her, you could just pop all your ults, and it should be fine. Also, make sure to pull your tank so that when the minions from the bottom go up, they won't die near where the mage will come out. Uh, it does right there because Boreas kind of hits everything. Unfortunately, but it's fine. I would have loved to have Comet for this stage. Comet where I'm putting Vienna would be great. It makes it so much easier, but unfortunately I don't have them. Anyways, as you can see, the Rippers are low, which is really nice. Silas can kill the top Ripper. Once again, Setram is fine. Sargak is fine. Hatchet, you might need to place differently, but with her invisibility, she should be fine. Though I don't like using Hatchet for the stage, even though I don't have her on my main. Purely because with these modifiers, she can't immediately kill any of the mages, unfortunately. Anyways, we were able to kill the other mage, and then Idril Duels is the last one. And that's about it. This is by far the hardest stage in this Void Rift. So if you're unable to beat it, that's okay. Next rotation is next week, so you should have better luck on that. But this is the easiest way that I have found to do it. Just, it can be a bit hard to clear the minions, especially on this modifier, unfortunately. But, I think I'm going to show my Boreas gear just to show that you don't need good gear to clear this. As you can see, this is like the worst set I've ever seen. I do have a Tear of Twilight on him, but whatever. And Vienna has a broken set. This is the most achievable way to do this, okay? You have to believe me, I did this for like 3 hours. If you've seen my Shadowkeeper video, you know how to do this. Although damage taken reduces is a very, very bad modifier. Makes this a lot harder, so I might need to use Silas. Although, once again, you can use Setram for a little bit of extra boss damage. Imani usually works, but your Imani might need to have really good gear when it's 30% less damage taken. That's insane. That's very, very difficult to play around. So, there's not much you can do about that. But anyways, generally the core of this team is just Rage Regenning and Idril. I will use Lunaria for a bit of extra Idril damage, but you don't actually need Lunaria. And then let me find Mari. And the last one is your single target damage. I kind of have to use Silas for this. But once again, you don't need Silas. So, it's just, it's Void Rift. If you don't have him, it's going to be a bit harder. There's not much I could do about it. Obviously, like I keep on saying, Setrum can replace Silas in almost every single instance that you see him. So, just keep that in mind. Anyways, we're going to put Dolores down. I should have done it quite a bit earlier, but we should be fine. And then I'll put Mari. I should have popped Idril a little bit earlier, but it's fine. I don't think it makes a big difference whenever I trigger it. And then generally you want to put a log first before you put your DPS, but if you're using a marksman, you could generally put them down first, but whatever. Anyways, then we get to put down Laurel, and then we could pull Laurel, and I'll just Silas ult pretty early, just because I can. And I'm going to wait a little bit to do Idril ult. The timing on Idril can be a bit rough, so I'm not entirely sure if I have to wait or not, but it's fine. We'll do fine here. Then I will pop Hollow. And Silas dies, unfortunately, so this might be a rip run. I can't seem to get that guy dead, so it looks like a rip run. Once again, Idril down. We can put Hollow next. Partially for Invig, partially for just her being really good. Put Dolores. And of course Hollow dies somehow. This game is very inconsistent. Boom, Hollow. Then we put Dolores. And I'll wait until this person actually dies this time before I pop the ult. And then I will pop Idril ult and then put down that person. I'll wait until the kill. And then I'll pop my ult. And we'll just keep going. And then I'll put down Olag. I guess this time I'll wait for Dolores to use Silas. And then I'll actually put Lunaria down this time. It's a bit rough. Sorry if I'm low on energy. The previous stage before this one took a lot out of me. I tried doing it with the worst gear possible, and it was actually miserable. Use your single target and then use Dolores, and you're pretty much fine. I'll just use Idril stuff, because why not? I had to use a bunch of other alts in order to get Idril to actually kill them. Also, I should have put Silas and Mari back quite a bit earlier, but it's fine. I'll Idril ult again because I feel like it. I don't think it actually makes a big difference. Here we go. We get to cycle Hollow and Laurel, so we're not doing too bad. Also, just remember, if the boss starts moving up, you put Lunaria here, and then Lunaria will get hit and your single target won't get hit. It's a way to make it so that even if you don't have bonded Silas, for example, you still get to buy yourself some time. So just keep that in mind, that it is not a big deal if you're unable to get the kill in time. So yeah, just keep that in mind. Anyways, let's just keep popping ults, keep it going. I'm gonna do that, and then I think I have to Olag here, unfortunately, which kind of sucks. Idril, of course, is not enough apparently, so that sucks. Okay, Idril to the left. These stages are really taking a lot out of me. The last stage was one of the worst experiences of my career in this game. Doing it with the worst gear I can possibly assemble was a nightmare, and I never want to have to do that again. So just bear with me if I'm not very energetic. I'm so tired. Maybe that's partially because I'm not sleeping enough, but it's not important. Anyways, you know the drill. Single target there. Just time them with Dolores, and keep in mind that if you can put Lunaria here on this square whenever the boss starts moving forward and getting close to your DPS, and you should be fine. Let's just Idril, I guess, so that I can put Laurel alt, and then I can pull her. I will end up killing the boss really fast, but once again, if you're a bit slower, you can do fine. I helped a friend beat it, and they used Cetrum, and somehow they didn't really get attacked much. I don't know how exactly, but whatever. Anyways, just look at my guide on this boss if you need help. Once again, the modifiers this week are actual hell. I'm not sure why they're so bad, but they are. So if you can't beat something, it's 100% the modifiers, and you should not feel bad that you cannot do it, because no one can do it. It's terrible. It's terrible. Like, it's genuinely the worst thing ever seen, ever. This week is terrible. I know I keep saying it, but like, come on. It's terrible. Anyways, I'm just doing this stuff because my Idril timing isn't great, and because of the more HP, or like the less damage taken, I guess, there's not much I could do, unfortunately. I don't know why I'm putting Lunaria there. I'm just tired. uh, but yeah, so be prepared to struggle a little bit, but next week it should be far easier. So don't worry about it. I'm triggering Idril pretty early because I have Silas over there to do a lot of damage. Once again, Cetrum is fine, Sargak is fine, everything is fine. It doesn't really matter. There's other things you could do. I beat the stage with Praetus because he's so broken. So I think you could probably do it with Hex, although I'm not entirely sure. Just do whatever you think that is best for you. Anyways, let's just get this win. And there we go. So, I'm gonna have to edit all of this together. I have so many files from all my failed runs as I was trying to figure it out with the worst gear I've ever assembled. That boss stage, because I have a long guide on it, I just figured I would steamroll through it because I'm very tired, and you guys can just watch that if you need help. Of course, I get a terrible piece, but I guess it's fine for a glacier set. Ancient Crystal's nice, but yeah. That's about it for me, though. Yeah. I wish you the best, guys, the best of luck. That is hell. That is like the worst thing I think I've ever had to go through. Like, I tried my best not to ever use Boreas. I tried to barely use Vierna if I could, like use Greed instead. I tried not to use, I didn't actually use Arrogance once. Arrogance is very good for that stage. I had to use Silas. I couldn't not use Silas because I don't have Cetrum, so I can't do that. Idril obviously is the main character here. Vortex, Hollow are good healers. Olag, Baron, and a third tank, whatever you have. Regulus, Brokir, whatever. That sort of thing are the most important. But yeah, hope this helped at least a little bit, even if it wasn't the most well put together. Yeah. Anyways, that's about it for me. Bye bye.